Good morning. We'll call the DRC meeting to order. July 31st, 2024. I will remind everybody that the meeting is streamed online and that if you're an applicant, to please come to the podium so we can get your comments on the record. And we will start with roll call. Community Development, Bobby Howell is present. Police Department.
Mike McKinley, thank you.
City Engineer.
Richard Earps here.
Fire.
Jeremy Holderfield.
And Building.
John Hansen's here.
All right, so we have the first item on the agenda is an annexation of Chandler Road. This is the second submittal. Staff comments on the annexation is that it would go to the August 21st City Council meeting, and then if the City Council so votes for the annexation at the first reading, second reading would be on September 4th. The applicant's in attendance. Do you have any questions or comments for the DRC? With that, we'll go around with the DRC. Community Development has no further questions or comments. Police.
I don't have anything other than what I made.
Okay. City Engineer.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Fire.
No comments.
And Building.
I don't have anything, thanks.
Okay. So the next item is 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road. It's an annexation, and then there's a rezoning and a master or comp plan and a master plan application. And so we'll take everything all at once on that one. The applicant has received comments from the Development Review Committee. Basically, the comment from the DRC is that the applicant is trying to apply for a redevelopment plan in the KPI, but it's our assessment of the plan, of the KPI master plan and the code is that to qualify for a redevelopment project, you have to be in the city, not annex and then ask for a redevelopment plan. So that's our interpretation of the code going forward. Applicants in attendance, do you have any questions or comments for the DRC? Okay. With that, we will go around. Planning and Zoning, Community Development stands behind the comments. Police.
After reading everything, I agree with Community Development's assessment that it doesn't apply.
Okay, thank you. City Engineer, Public Works.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Okay. Fire.
No comments.
And Building.
I don't have anything, thanks.
Okay, so with that, what we could do is a roll call vote for DRC because DRC has to take a recommendation going forward to City Council about approval or denial of the annexation, and the annexation request on planning and zoning community development would be denial based on the factors that I've outlined. So if we could do a roll call vote, community development recommends denial of the annexation and the future land use and the rezoning of police department.
Well, then I'm confused because are we dealing with them all at once, or can we annex them in with them knowing that we're going to oppose what they want to do? And if that's the case, do they still want to be annexed in?
The annexation, if we annex in, then it becomes a redevelopment project per the code.
All right. Based on what I've read, I don't believe it meets what they want to do in the future, so I'm going to agree with Community Development and deny it.
Okay. Public Works.
Yeah, this isn't an engineer thing, you know, zoning and annexations and future land use and those things are all outside of my expertise, so I defer and agree with Community Development.
Okay. Fire.
I also deny and agree with community development.
Okay. And Building.
I agree with Richard, like Building has, but I'll agree with community development as well.
So the recommendation from the Development Review Committee would be denial, as it doesn't qualify as a redevelopment project. But you still have a right to apply for the annexation. Ultimately, it'd be the City Council to determine whether or not to annex you into the city or not. And we could you please come to the mic so we can get your comments on the record?
Heather Earler, LPG, Urban and Regional Planners. I'm at 1162 Camp Avenue, Mount Dora. And essentially what we're looking for is guidance for when this is going to move forward through the hearing process. We've acknowledged that we don't agree with staff's proposal. Obviously, we don't agree with the recommendation that this is a redevelopment project, considering that we're asking for an annexation, a future land use, and a rezoning amendment. At this point, we're not asking for a redevelopment project. We're not have a site plan before the board. So we are just seeking to annex the property, which is already a water. They're already a water user here for the city. As a result, we're just looking to see when we're going to be scheduled for hearing. We recognize that you're recommending denial based on planning and zoning's comments.
Sure.
So the annexation would be scheduled for September 4th. That would be the first hearing of the annexation. If the city council approves the first reading, then the second reading will be September 18th. We have to, per the terms of a joint planning area agreement with Orange County, send a letter of notification 30 days out, plus Florida statute requires that for an annexation. I will send that letter this afternoon to the county, informing them the proposal, the applicant's request to annex the property into the city.
Okay. And so that those are city commission. Is there a planning and zoning meeting that we'll be attending as well?
For annexation,
No. How about we're planning on running these applications concurrent?
No, so the way it works here in Apopka is you have to annex in the property first. Afterwards, if it's annexed, then the future land use amendment and the rezoning goes to planning commission.
Yeah, and so our attorney has been in contact with the city attorney to discuss these applications running concurrently.
Mhm.
Have those discussions, has planning and zoning had those discussions with the city attorney?
I've not heard from the city attorney. No. I've spoke with him about the annexation application, but as far as concurrency, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, Advent Health Emergency Department Future Land Use First Submittal. Gene Sanchez is the project manager.
Bobby, I also have a rezoning for this in the KPI.
Okay.
We'll bring it up at the same time. So, this property is on the eastern quadrant of Plymouth Sorrento Road and Kelly Park Road. It is in fact in the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code regulating area. I don't really have much comments at this time. The future land use is fine. Actually, it is compelled by the comp plan to be mixed use. But as far as the rezoning, we don't have an objection to the rezoning. However, the master plan to me is lacking a lot of details that I think we would like a little bit more on. It's not really, it looks like a survey, but just superimposed with the property lines on there. So, or an aerial superimposed with property lines. So, planning has asked to submit or revise the master plan with a little bit more details that would further demonstrate Kelly Park interchange regulations. Even if it loosely does it, we understand it's conceptual and things might change at a construction plan. Additionally, yesterday, I received an email from our consultant that we require, or actually, we're requesting a road dedication if they'd like to address the transportation impacts that this project might create on Plymouth Sorrento Road, as we have customarily have done in the past. And I think we are coordinating with Kimley Horn. The irony is Kimley Horn is the applicant. So we'll get with our KPR design team to see if they have any additional kind of improvements that would be required for this particular project. Additional thing that I kind of oversaw on the review is that, just to remind the applicant, there's going to be a pass-through fee required of $5,000. And that is to cover all the public hearings for our legal counsel. And that's really all I have.
Okay, is the applicant in attendance? All right, would you like to address the DRC, or do you have any comments or questions?
Good morning. Thanks, Gene. Good morning, Nathan Milch, Kimley Horn, 200 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32809. I guess a couple of the questions that we wanted to understand. So the right-of-way comments came in, and I guess it was an estimated 30 feet of right-of-way on Plymouth Sorrento as well as Kelly Park Road. So I guess we wanted to get some more detail on that and work with staff and understand, I guess, exactly what is going to be needed, because it's a generally small site and right in the village center area. So it's important, that this meets the Kelly Park form-based code the best that we can, because it's a very important project right at the corner there. And then otherwise, in terms of level of detail on the master plan, we are, I guess that's something that we want to follow up with and discuss again with planning staff, because we're at a not necessarily at a point where we know exactly what would be proposed out there. We know that one of the one of the things on the site would be the offsite emergency department. However, we're working through understanding what else the market would support out there and what would make sense, since obviously the area is quite rural and developing quickly. So I guess understanding what level of detail might be needed there, if we're able to list some more standards related to the village center, to make sure that staff is comfortable with that, we'd like to explore that option. And yeah, I think that was about it. We had no questions on the future land use, and yeah, so that was about it for now.
Okay, so question from community development is, what would be the estimated time frame the construction would start?
So at this time, there's not a timeline. Just wanting to rezone to be consistent with what's out there, and then we'd go through with full site design at a later date. It's kind of just up in the air at this point.
Are there any designs that are currently in use that the applicant could put on the plan of other types of facilities that have been health runs like this?
Yeah, there's plenty of examples. Or I guess what we're concerned about, and now that we had this right of way potential right of way dedication comment, as well is I know the village center code requires buildings to be pulled up to the right of way, so we'd really need to get a better understanding there prior to any type of full design. But I think we've worked through a couple conceptual site plans, but we're still trying to dial in on a development program so we're trying to build in that flexibility for now.
That's all the questions I have. We'll see if any of the other DRC members have any questions for you. Police department.
I'm going to bring up something that I brought up in the past. I don't have any problem with annexing the property into the city, but between the applicant and Gene, there's like 20 questions that aren't answered here. So I'm not voting on the future land use because we don't know the answers to 20 questions approximately. And I still don't understand why some of these things come to DRC before all these questions are answered. It could have been postponed another week and all these questions taken care of so that we could make an informed decision about something. So I'm just not comfortable with all these decisions with all these questions outstanding. I don't understand it.
Public services.
I agree with Chief. So there's 20 outstanding questions for the future land use, so I think that's got to come back. The rezoning, typically I don't have any comments on, but when we call it something master plan / master plan, that's when I agree with Gene completely, and we need more detail. And maybe it's not the ultimate configuration of a building and a parking lot and everything else, but the master plan is what city council sees, and so they need something to say this is what they approve, and then we need to be able to, in the future, if you do change it, is it a substantial change or is it essentially the same thing city council saw? So I don't see how we can approve a master plan without parking lots and drive aisles and handicap spaces and the footprint of the building and all that. So I can't support at all the master plan, and I agree with Chief on future land use.
Okay. Fire. If you want to go ahead and address, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So, in terms of the future land use, I just wanted to reiterate, like what Gene said, is that that's dictated by the comp plan, and all of the properties out here are dictated by the comp plan and the Kelly Park Interchange Master Plan. So the request for Village Center is consistent with what's showing on there. And then in terms of the other level of detail, that's something that we'd like to follow up with staff on, and understood.
But you made a comment, and it might have been a Freudian slip, that you're going to try to meet the Kelly Park interchange plan as best as possible. It's not really a best as possible. It's you have to meet it.
Well, so I guess my comment there was it's considering that it's a form based code. There's a lot of challenges in meeting every single portion of the code. So that's why you're allowed to ask for deviations and so on. And we just want to coordinate closely with staff on what that design would be. So kind of right now we're not sure what that would be, but we're willing we're going to comply the best we can when we get into the full design phase was the intent there.
I think we're at any further questions? Do you have any further questions, Nathan? No. Okay, we'll go to fire then.
I also agree with Chief McKinley. Until we get more information on this, I just can't move forward on this also. So
Building department.
I agree with the other three, just so we get some more information.
So maybe then what we could do is have a meeting with planning, kind of go through the code a little bit, design, look at other like facilities that have been built by Advent Health and see how it would kind of fit into the code picture. And maybe we can schedule an informational meeting with city staff on that.
Okay, great.
All
Sounds good.
Thank you. All right. And the iPad froze up. Okay, so the next item, we covered 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road, 1770 Sheeler Avenue rezoning. First submittal, Amir Hamza is the project manager.
Good morning, everyone. This is a rezoning application for 1770 Sheeler Avenue. It's currently zoned residential single family large lot RSF1B, and the proposal is to do a rezoning change from RSF1B to RTF residential 2 family. The applicant, he is here in attendance today. Yeah, for comments.
Good morning, Brent Lenz and Kimley Horn, 200 South Orange Avenue, Orlando. Just to clarify a couple of the comments, the community meeting's been scheduled. It'll be on the 13th. The signage postings went out yesterday on the property. Transportation, Richard, I understand we'll work with you for any TIA methodology or conversations before initiating the study.
If you're going to do that in the short term, I'm probably going to need a pass-through fee to hire one of our continuing consultants to collaborate with you on that.
Okay. I'll work with you on that. Okay.
Yeah, the pass-through fee is $5,000. And then any monies that aren't used, they get refunded back.
Okay. And then the last thing is addressing the police department comment there in terms of the adjacent firearms range. The police department opposed any rezoning or land use change that would allow for density or more density on the property. Just to address that topic, so the land use of residential low is remaining the same. So that 5 dwelling units per acre is not being requested to change. This is going with a different zoning that would allow for duplexes, which is just a slight change in lot dimension. So the density is not being asked to increase on the subject property.
Okay, as long as the density is not increasing, but we still have challenges going forward. And, the developer is going to have to agree to make sure that anybody that buys a home next to that firearms range, it's in their purchasing documents that they know and they acknowledge they're buying a home next to a firearms range, because we already get complaints from the city all the time. I mean, from our residents all the time. We are in the process of hopefully building an indoor range, but that's a couple years out.
Sure.
And they're going to be, you may have a house within 300 yards of that firearms range, and they need to know that when they purchase that. And I want to make sure it's quite clear to everybody. And we're going to have to figure out, or the developer's going to have to figure out the best way to buffer between the first homes that are going to be up against that firearms range. And the city may incur a cost to refurbish the berm that's on that side of the firearms range, because it may have to be increased in height.
Sure.
So, not only is it going to be impacting those who buy a home there, it's going to be impacting the city, because we're going to have to make a significant investment in a range that we may be abandoning in a couple years.
Sure. Yeah, and we're sensitive to the topic as well, just knowing that you're building homes and you don't want the similar situation you're concerned with to be for homes you're trying to sell. So with that being said, I know we have an obligation, I believe, for a 6-foot solid like masonry wall on that property boundary, and the initial conceptual plans, which we'll share with this next resubmittal, does intend to have stormwater management buffering there a little bit, just adding more separation. But we're open to further communicating on that as we move forward with the project.
Okay, just as long as we're all clear, there's a lot of
Mhm.
challenges here.
Understood. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. We'll go around with the DRC. Community Development has no further comments other than those that generated. Police,
Nothing other than what I've said. Thank you.
Public Services,
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Fire,
No comments.
and Building.
I don't have anything, thanks.
All right, thank you. We'll look out for your resubmittal.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is FCS Industries, Construction Site Plan, third submittal. Gene Sanchez is the project manager.
This is actually the third submittal of FCS Industries. It's the proposal for 18,000 square feet of industrial use on the southern quadrant of Apopka Boulevard in Hiawassee. The only thing planning had was the arbor permit with this latest resubmittal. Richard, I left the comments that were previously issued on there. I didn't know if those have been satisfied or not. The applicant's hoping it would be the last visit to DRC, so I just wanted to make sure public services or engineer comments have been addressed.
I'll have to go and make sure, but I can do that by the end of the week and contact the applicant directly if my comments are not resolved.
Perfect. Alrighty.
The applicant's in attendance and I think has some questions, comments.
JD Salazar, Barrios Engineering, 7575 Dr. Phillips Boulevard, Suite 260, Orlando, Florida. My first question for planning is, you mentioned there are still outstanding comments. I didn't see any on your comments letter. I mean, besides for the transfer or utilities.
There were no other outstanding, just the arbor mitigation.
Okay.
Is what I said, yeah.
Okay, but didn't you just mention utilities having?
Yes, it should have been
I don't.
generated on there. I can give you a copy.
It's the copy I have up.
I'll give it over to you. Hold on, right?
So,
I'll double check today.
okay.
It's been generated.
Because yeah, that wasn't on the comments letter we received.
Okay.
I don't know if Willie, did you have any comments?
Good morning. I'm a little confused on where we are with the status of the project. I ended up contacting the mayor, and also I think the gentleman's name is Richard Ertz, if I'm not mistaken. And we were trying to just get started, and I asked for a clearing permit. I was advised to go in and submit an application for the clearing permit. When we got back and got all the responses back, all of a sudden someone told us, hey, listen, this is not approved. You can't get a clearing permit to get started. I'm trying to build this business here in the city of Apopka, and this has been, for us, been a nightmare. I'm not a large company. We took every dollar we had on our profits to purchase this land to try to build this project, but I'm not understanding where we are. Last time that we came to the meeting, I was told that this was the last meeting that we would have to go to with the DRC. And all of a sudden received an email stating, hey, here's another meeting with the DRC. We are struggling bad, and I'm asking the city for help, and I'm totally lost. I was asked to submit an application for the clearing permit. Then all of a sudden, hey, you can't do this. So I'm just asking for some help on trying to get this thing pushed through. This has been a long process for us, and we are hurting bad before the project's even started. You know, I'm understanding that we're in a particular unique situation where the property is right in between Orange County and the city of Apopka. So there's a lot of challenges we have with the ROW, if I'm not mistaken, the right of way. Yeah. So where are we with this process right now? Because I'm confused.
Well, I don't know if my name is Richard Earp, by the way.
Okay.
So I'm the city engineer with the city of Apopka. I've heard the idea of you want a clearing permit for several months. The city doesn't have a clearing permit. I don't know that we've ever had a clearing permit, certainly not since the 2019 code. So everyone who's asked me to get a clearing permit associated with this project, I tell them that we don't have a clearing permit in our code. We've got a construction site plan that gets approved that would include clearing once you get started, and we have a mass grading, dredge, and fill permit that you can get, but it doesn't help you much because you still need a St. Johns River
Right.
Water Management District permit. You still need to do your stormwater. You still need to have a site that can. So your mass grading would result in a site that is long-term stable, and we can approve that as a standalone. But as far as I know, that was never submitted, and my repeated letting people associated with your project know that there is no clearing permit, and then I keep hearing clearing permit come up. So
This
I
is
think
new to
part
me,
of the.
so
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I apologize, but this is new to me. So this is the first time I'm ever doing anything like this. So I'm lost a little bit here. So I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so you've got a construction site plan. That's what you need to get started. And it sounds like well, it doesn't sound like I have committed to giving you if any of the comments that Public Services had that were not addressed, I'll get those to you by the end of the week, and I'll be happy to explain to you what they are and what you need to do to resolve them by the end of the week.
Okay,
This week.
so are we close now, or that's my question. I mean, where are we with the process?
I can answer that. To me, a third submittal is an average amount of time, but frankly, that it's really up to your development, your design team for the resubmittal and to answer staff's comments. It is not on behalf of the city that this has been. I don't know if it's honestly been delayed. To me, it's been 4 to 6 months, which is the usual time frame for a construction site plan review.
So what's
Okay.
the next steps now? Are there still comments?
Like Richard said, he's going to check, and by the end of the week, your applicant or your representative with Barrios Engineering should get something from staff. Now, another thing I'd like to clear up is that we can't get 100 different emails from 100 different people about the same project because frankly it creates confusion on our end, okay, to disseminate information accurately. So if you can have JD Salazar, which is I think, or Debbie is fine. We've been speaking with Debbie with, I think, is Debbie your representative? Yes. If you can limit it to your actual representative who has owner authorization to actually represent this project in terms of communication, I think that would be better off. Now, in terms of clearing, I don't know if you're confusing it with a tree removal permit application, but you will need a tree removal permit before you can touch that property, and usually it is a prerequisite for a pre-construction meeting with engineering. Okay, so I've assessed the fee for you. You all should have that arbor mitigation fee. I will double check if Richard or Public Services in general has any outstanding comments, and hopefully by the end of the week, you'll have a clear picture where you are.
Can I make a recommendation? Yeah, the gentleman seems, truly confused, and if this is his first trip through the city of Apopka, can somebody from community development or Bobby and Eugene sit down with him and his team and explain the entire process to him so he has an understanding of what the next steps are so that he's not confused? Because I hate for him to leave here again confused today, not understanding what he needs to do. He understands we're going to have potential questions to him by the end of the week or anything, but then he needs to know the next step after he clears up those questions and everything else. And I agree with Gene, sir, that having one person point of contact for the city with your team would benefit us, and then that person can relay to you what's going on, or you can be the point of contact. It doesn't matter, but again, we can't deal with a bunch of different emails from a bunch of different people.
I was unaware. I still don't know what she means by that, because if they're sending, Barrios is sending a bunch of emails, I've sent one since the entire
and that's
process.
fine, but I think the best thing here to do is, if you're confused, which I honestly believe you are, then I think you need to sit down with community development, and they need to explain to you the process and who's going to be your point of contact, and see if we can't help you get moving forward.
I mean, the gentleman right here tell you, I've been coming here for weeks now trying to get answers and questions, and I just
Well, maybe we can
And
do
you're
that.
gonna need to coordinate with your design team in terms of timing and stuff.
not here to throw anyone on the
No,
bus.
no,
I'm just
no.
trying to
I'm
get-
just
No,
letting
and
you
we
know
want
we're
to
happy
resolve your
do.
problems.
Yeah, we'll do a meeting with him, but you're gonna need your design team to be there as well, so we can coordinate exactly where you are in this junction.
Willie, would it be acceptable that we get with staff, Gene, and schedule a meeting between you, us, and staff to further discuss this? Or
Of course.
okay, why don't we go down that route, and hopefully by that time we will also have, if there are any comments that weren't reflected on the comment letter from utilities.
Sounds good.
Thank you. All right, let's see. We'll go around the DRC. We will schedule a meeting, community development with the applicant, kind of talk through process and eliminate any confusion or anything like that. Police,
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
public services,
I don't have anything else, thanks.
fire,
No comments.
and building.
No comments, thanks.
All right. Next item on the agenda is we talked about Sheila. Folks, I'm sorry, I skipped I and B homes. I'm so sorry. You've been sitting there for a while. Rezoning master plan second submittal. So I apologize for skipping you on the agenda. You received comments from DRC. There really weren't any outstanding other than from planning, other than just a revision to the master plan to turn back in. No further comments, and I apologize for skipping you on the agenda. Police department, anything else?
I didn't understand where we're at.
We are on rezoning number 2. I skipped it by accident.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Public services,
I don't have anything, thanks.
fire, and building.
I don't have anything, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about the confusion. Thank you. All right, next one. Logistics 429 at Apopka Ridge, buildings 100 and 200. Gene is the project manager.
So this is a project on the eastern portion of parcel 5 of the ridge, which is it's south of Boy Scout Road, actually south of Bronson Lake Drive now. And right now, the only portion being improved on the industrial parcel is the eastern portion closer to Apopka Road. It's about, I think, 23,000 square feet of industrial uses. Let's see here. 263,000 square feet. That's a difference. And I don't really have any comments or questions on this. I think, Mark, you have resolved most, if not all, of Richard's comments offline. Okay. Okay. Sure.
Mark Smiley, 64 Kingfish Road, North Palm Beach. Yeah, Richard and I talked earlier this week. This is just the next building of the master plan that was approved a few years ago. And I think we had everybody, I didn't see any other comments, so I think everybody was resolved, but I'm here in case anything comes up.
All right, community development has no further comments. Police,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
public services,
I don't have anything, I'm glad we talked, thank you.
fire, building.
I don't have anything, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Trinity Construction Site Plan second submittal, and June Son is the project manager.
Good morning, this is Junson Planner 2. This project is a second submittal of the Trinity Construction CSP for the minor development plan located at 1184 Apopka Bluebird. The property size is about 2.31 acres. The future land use is industrial. Zoning is light industrial. The total size of the building area is about 20,000 square feet. Open space is about 30,000 square feet. And proposed parking spaces is 41 spaces, including 2 handicap spaces, which meets requirements. Is applicant here to respond to any comments.
All right, applicants in
And
attendance.
in addition to the planning comments, I forgot to mention that building. I just found this morning that green building standard calculation is missing, so you have to provide that as well. So, yeah.
Mr. Klutz, any questions or comments for the DRC? No? All right. Okay.
My last names. Anyway, good morning. I'm David Klutz, Civil Engineering Solutions, 322 North Rockingham Avenue, Tavares, Florida. Project engineer is my firm. We've, I think, addressed most of the comments with the planning department, and we'll address the comment for the green building aspect of it. And we did walk through the checklist, and we can meet the requirements with what we're doing at the site, but we'll address that and get it back to you guys. And we will be resubmitting a plan, just to mostly administrative things for the planning department, minor change the name of the plan. I think we had site construction plans instead of construction site plan, a few things like that. But otherwise, I'm here available to answer some questions. We do have, in our response, we asked for relief from connecting to the reclaimed water system. It's about 3,000 feet away from us for irrigation purposes, and relief on the lift station diameter from 6 feet down to 4 feet, and I believe it was the pump horsepower requirements. And we listed those as waiver requests, not knowing any other method. And if we need to go ask for a variance or something, would like to do that. But that's about all we have. We basically went into the plan. If you guys remember, we were here, if everybody was on the board, 3 or 4 months ago, I think. And we had a connection out on South Apopka Boulevard. We've removed that, and we show traffic circulation on site, and all access is off East 13th Avenue now. And that's about it. Okay.
In regards to the utility questions, I'll defer to public services on those. It's really not a land development planning and zoning issue.
Yeah, I didn't see a waiver request. I didn't, and since we don't have a waiver, I didn't spend time thinking about those projects. But just on the fly, if it's a private lift station, as long as the lift station can force the discharge into the existing force main,
Right.
then how you configure your internal private
Okay.
lift station is up to you. Now, there is no waiver for connection to reclaim. You're going to have to connect to reclaim. Unless you're a single family home, less than half an acre, every development in the city needs to connect to water, sewer, reclaimed. My attorneys have assured me that's clear in our code, and there is no waiver.
Okay. So the only recourse then would be to ask for a variance to the code.
Would that be, Bobby?
Variances are really more for land development related matters. I can pull up the land development code and show you real quick what it would.
That's a tough one, guys. I mean, it's 3,000 feet away, and we're basically going to have 1 ERU or less for irrigation, and to get us through establishment. And what, Richard, you would know better than me, but a project what we have to extend 10, 12-inch line for reclaim down there. And at this point, we'd be the only connection. And I don't know.
Is there
Some
a way
of
for
my
something that
initial
small, Richard,
numbers,
so they can go off the potable water? I mean, it's up for something.
$300,000 or $400,000 for this project to just irrigate some plants for a little while.
Well, unfortunately, if we make an exception for you, then we have to make an exception for everybody. We've required other developments to come in and connect to all three of them, regardless how far the distance is. And we can't set a precedent here about waiving you, because if the property next to you wants to come in to the city and develop, now they may have 4,000 feet to cover.
I can definitely agree with you. And are you the police chief?
Yes, I am.
Chief? I'll call you chief.
You can call me Mike if you
Mike?
want. I don't care. I'm
Okay.
not bound by that. The Lord and my parents named me Mike. It's only by the grace of God I made it to chief. So
I think I understand the intent of the rule. I mean, I wasn't obviously involved when the rules were adopted or anything. If we were a 20 acre or 40 acre parcel outside the city, outside of its normal utility services area, a requirement to force that connection, I totally get it, And then if it was almost like a pioneering agreement, there would be a development out there. There's all this surplus capacity, and as other people connect it in, I would think hopefully the city has a process that would allow recoupment of the funds for pioneering that line and getting it out there. But in this case, it's an infill area. It's part of the city already, and when you do that, there's going to be nobody connecting.
there's an undeveloped part of the city that's now becoming developed. And if the city continues to grow in that direction, which we're growing in all directions,
I get it, but this particular project, there's residential development beside us, below us, or below us is our project and a church, and on the other side of the street's residential development. So from 3,000 feet away, it's already developed along that entire route. So there's not going to be any cost sharing with anybody along the way to make it happen. So
and I sympathize with you, but you know, we have that in place because it needs to be developed so that as we continue, it is developed and it doesn't get further and further away from those that annex into the city in the future or need reclaimed water in the future. Then it's going to be incumbent upon them to reach 5,000 feet, 6,000 feet, or whatever. So I sympathize with you, and I understand, you know, the additional cost, but I don't know how we waive it without now, you know, opening up a can of worms to waive everything in Kelly Park Crossing and everywhere else.
Okay, so then it would end up being what the recommendation of this group. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Chairman, but then we would get recommend denial because we won't agree to put in the reclaim. And then what do we do?
Because you don't meet the requirements of the code. Richard, is this connection requirement, is it in the city code of ordinances? Is it in the land development code?
It's a combination of the comprehensive plan, the land development code, and other city ordinances. And I had very carefully asked this question through Cliff's office, the current city attorney, and made sure at the end I double clarified that yes, I am supposed to make sure all development over half lot all connect water, sewer, reclaim every time. Yes was his answer. So yes, that's what I have to follow. I can't waive the land develop. I can't waive those codes. In the comp plan.
Yeah, in the land development code, I just pulled up the variance section. It doesn't allow variance to that. It's just for development standards.
All right. So then we either come forward with 0.6 of a mile of force main design or reclaimed water design for the city and bring it to them at a cost, I'm guessing $400,000 or so to do this, maybe more. Okay. To irrigate 10 gallons a minute for 4 months. And then it'll sit there with no use on it until somebody else is required to connect.
Well, David, and I've got common sense, and I understand, and part of me agrees with John that it probably makes sense to just use potable, but the city code doesn't say that. I don't have that ability to just waive city code because your reason makes sense. You know,
one question, it probably doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense either, but is there say it was 3 miles away from his property, would he still have to run a line 3 miles to get there to irrigate whatever's there? And I don't believe there's going to be much there to irrigate, but
yes, but now we don't have anybody in the city that's 3 miles away from water, sewer, and reclaim in the city. Now there may be a way to have a developer's agreement that city council approves that you're going to connect to potable now, and that when reclaim becomes available, you can connect to reclaim. I don't know how we would process that proposed developer's agreement, but you and me and Bobby could work together. Maybe that's something public services would bring. I haven't done that before.
Richard, that's really what we're looking for, is to find a mechanism so we can do our project. I mean, they have a need for it to expand their business and keep people employed. And I think it's going to be a benefit to the city tax base. They're going to get more taxes off that piece of property. And if that's a mechanism we can use, we'll definitely explore that. That'd be great.
That might be an option. Definitely Richard and I can kind of brainstorm on that. My memory serves me correct. There was a self-storage facility permitted off of Coral Hills Road a few years back, and they did some type of development agreement for a bathroom or something like that. So it could be something modeled on those lines. But if you do the DA, you got to pay the legal pass-through fee, $5,000, because our city attorney will have to review the agreements. Any agreements going forward have to be reviewed by our legal department. But that might be the option, is possibly a DA and let the city council determine whether or not to go along with it.
Okay. Yeah. And the review and the fee is due at the beginning of the process and not at the, okay. All right.
And what you would have to do as an applicant is draft a development agreement prepared by an attorney, and then send it to us, and staff will review it, the DRC, and then a city attorney will review it in conjunction with.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Yep, like it. Thanks, guys.
All right.
And please understand, I'm not trying to stop your project.
Oh, I know.
We just have to think of the long-term consequences of our decisions here and what the implications to the rest of the city are going to be.
Yeah, I understand when the code says a certain thing, it's got to go by the code. All right, guys.
All right. Let's see. We were at Public Services. Working on a DA, fire. Any questions
No
or comments? And building. Anything
Nothing
else?
additional, thanks.
All right. Any items for discussion? John? Yeah.
There was a certain, I believe, Southwick Commons. On the map, they don't show any reclaim there. Are we making them get reclaimed from the closest area they can?
That's a good question. I do not know.
Okay. If you could maybe just, because I believe when I looked at the map with Aaron, there wasn't any very close to, I don't know how far away a line would be to run down there, but I don't believe that there's any reclaim to that development.
Okay. Anything else for discussion before we adjourn? Meeting adjourned.